Hi everyone, so if you want to watch the live stream of this video, then you can head on over to my Facebook page, which is Marianne Hanson Counselling Service, where I've just gone live talking about this topic, and what I want to talk about is grieving a breakup. So for many people, we don't really talk about grief and loss as much as maybe we could. As a counsellor, I do talk about this a lot, not only with my clients, but I've also experienced a few bereavements myself. But when it comes to breakups, relationship breakups, we don't always associate the same level of like grieving, the grieving process, and we don't explore that enough. We also don't support people enough with this. So I just want to briefly talk about this topic and also maybe give a few tips. So if you look at the idea of a breakup, sometimes it can happen because one person makes the decision. Sometimes it can be a divorce. It could be an engagement that has broken up. It could be a short-term relationship which one person thought was going to lead to more. There's lots of different ways that breakups can occur. However, for many people, it can leave them questioning their purpose and who they are, especially if they've been in a marriage long term and they've maybe given up their dreams. Maybe they've decided their only purpose in life is to be a wife or a husband, and then when that status ends, they then have to rebuild, but they have to rethink as well, what am I going to do now? You know, do I need to start carving out a new life for myself? Do I need to just move on really quickly and become another person's wife or husband so that I can fill that status again? You know, it can feel really daunting, but it can also feel shocking as well to some people. So although it's not the same as a death, you know, losing someone through a bereavement, some of the symptoms or some of the feelings and emotions can be the same. So for example, you know that you can't, when someone dies, you know you're not going to see them again. And the hardest part for bereavement counselling, or for someone who's had a loss where there's been a death, is acceptance of the fact that you're not going to see that person again. So you can talk about how you feel, you can do the funeral arrangements, you can you know, get rid of all their clothes, there's so many rituals or things you can do. You can do releasing of doves, you can do the balloon releases, there's so many things that you can do, but the one thing you want is not going to happen, which is for that person to come back. When you've had a breakup in a relationship, the thing that you want is to be back in the relationship, and then that's hard because the person is still alive and there's the possibility of that happening, but there's the pain that it's not going to happen. So you still have to have a form of acceptance, especially when that person eventually moves on and has a new partner. That can be when it feels most painful. So if you look at certain celebrities, so I don't always say the names, but we say the Redknaps, for example, we all know who I'm talking about. They had a very public, you know, marriage. So he was a footballer, she was a music star of the big band that was really popular in the 90s. They got together, they had their relationship, they had their children. They then separated. She has made it public, you know, by saying that she still misses the loss. She's also kept the name of this person even though they're divorced. He is now, I think he's married now. Yeah, he got married. He's also had another child. He's moved on. She's also then talked about how that has further caused pain. And it just goes to show really that people can separate, but they can still be in the process where they're completely grieving still for the person. Who knows when you get to a point where you decide you're no longer going to have that person's surname because you're divorced. You're no longer going to, yes, we have to co-parent, but I'm ready to move on. For some people, they never are, and they can never get to that point. So it is about how different people define like the loss of the breakup. Some people can feel relieved, you know, other people will feel really angry. Maybe if the person's cheated or if they mistreated you, you feel anger towards them. Why did I waste my life or my time in this relationship? You can feel a sense of rejection, you know, a sense of depression. Who's going to want me now? You know, can I trust again? So there's a lot of questions that can come up, you know, about the future. Do I want to put myself through this again? What if I get together with someone and the same thing happens? You know, how long will I have to be single for before I meet someone? There's so many thoughts. Some of those thoughts are going to be directed towards yourself. You know, did I cause this to happen? Is it my fault? So in the same way with grief, where there's a bereavement, maybe someone will start thinking, I wish I'd spent more time with my mum or dad before they passed away. I wish I had done more. You know, say if someone has committed suicide or there's other types of loss that you've experienced, I wish I could have stopped them. I wish I saw the signs. You know, so there's a lot of questioning of self in both situations. And the key thing with that is you need to think about, you're not in control of the other person, you're only in control of yourself. And you also maybe need to speak to someone to work through those feelings, because if you're continuing to walk around with feelings like that, it's going to be very painful for you to process the loss and to move forward at some point. So the other thing to think about really is some of the stages that you go through, treat them as natural. Treat it as a grieving process, because that's what it is. Losing a person, whether you lose them through a bereavement or whether you lose them because they're no longer connected to you, you're not a couple anymore, it's still a loss. People are going to be coming up to you and asking you, are you still with so-and-so? Or they'll see you on your own and then ask what happened to him. Having to retell the story is the same as when you've lost someone as well. When someone says, how did they die? And you have to retell the story. That can be traumatizing. Keeping someone's surname and having to write down their surname every time you sign a check or every time you write on a piece of paper, that can be traumatizing, because you're not married to them anymore, but you've still got their surname. So every time you write that down, it reminds you that you're not married to them anymore. Going to the places you used to go together, that can be traumatizing. That can feel good or bad. Depends how you look at it. So the other part is reframing. In my relationships that I've had in the past, I look at it as being, I feel grateful, lucky, and I like reminiscing about the time I had to spend with that person. Even when we've separated, I've never looked at it as being a negative thing. I've seen it as being, that's a journey. This person wasn't meant to be with me. I wasn't meant to be with them. We now have the freedom and the opportunity to go off and be with the person we want to be with, but we still have those memories. I've got memories from 5 years, 6 years ago of people that I don't speak to anymore, but I still remember that great night we had when we went out. I still remember when they bought me this gift. I still remember how they made me feel. Doesn't mean I want to be back in a relationship with them. I don't sit and think about my exes, because that is my past. But I still have, when memories come up, I don't block the memories and say, oh, I'm not going to think about that because that was my ex. So we can reframe things. You know, life is a journey, nothing lasts forever. So if you're lucky enough to be in a relationship where you've been with someone 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, then cherish that, and that's good. But if it's been 10 months and then you've split up, then just think about the fact that you had 10 months with that person. It's over with, and you take your time. So that's another thing. Give yourself time to process what's happened, to move forward. Accept that it is a loss, but it's not the end of your life. You can continue, pick yourself back up. You can trust again. Do what feels right. If that means staying in touch with the person, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, don't listen to your friends or family. They do care about you, but you need to do what feels right for you. It might take, for some people, they want to remain friends. They might do some really silly, erratic things for a little bit before realising, you know what, this is not going to work. I'm not going to be able to split up my partner's my ex's new partner by doing silly things. So let me just let this go. But for some people, they're never going to get over their ex. You know, and then for others, they'll have a bit of a time and then they'll be fine. Put some boundaries in place if you do decide that you want to stay friends with your ex, or you do decide that it's too raw at the moment. You know, you can't just completely block them, you can't just walk away. Then just put boundaries in, because sometimes when you're impulsive and when you're not thinking straight and when you're full of emotion and you don't want to lose that person, you're going to do things which you might regret later. And what I mean is, you might continue to be intimate with that person because you think it will make you feel closer, but deep down it's not going to change the fact that they're not going to want to be with you again. So you're going to feel bad later on, it's going to hurt more. So just accept that it is a loss. It's major for some people. It can feel just as bad as a bereavement. So all you need to do really is do what feels best for you. Get some help. You might need to talk it through with a counsellor, you might need to talk it through with a friend, but you can get through things. You can get to a point where you get to a point of maybe indifference or acceptance or friendship, or, you know, yeah, you can get to any stage really, depends where you want to get to with it. But I don't see breakups. I see any form of relationship as having a beginning, a middle and an end. Eventually it's going to end. If it lasts for as long as it does, then that's fantastic. But whether you can be with someone for 6 months and it can feel fantastic, you can be with someone for 50 years and that can feel like a prison sentence. You know, we just have to accept that, yes, we're always going to lose in some ways, but, you know, it doesn't have to feel the way that it does. You know, it doesn't have to be a negative. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have, feel free to share it with other people because they might benefit. Also, feel free to leave your comments. I love to hear what you guys think. And don't forget to like and to subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more. So I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.